Now for quite possibly the most important video ever to occur on my channel. So, earlier this year, I brought back a series known as the Re-Scored project, and some may think it started with my videos on Portal 2, but really this was the pilot episode here, as it were. The background to this was that I was in my second year of college at the time, and one of the tasks was to compose an original piece of music to a video. We were given the choice of 1 out of 2 videos to work with ourselves, those being, I believe, the intro to Left 4 Dead, and one of the opening scenes from Cloverfield, but we were also given the option to do a video of our own choosing. Now, initially I wanted to do the first part of bonus stage 75, which you may remember from the Tails Gaming Rig skit from Sonic Z episode 1. Unfortunately, that bit had music at the start, so my other choice was the animation Spy and Pyro by Andrew Keppel. As it happens, I actually know Andrew from an old internet forum, and I'd asked him beforehand if it was alright for me to use his video for my college project, and he was completely cool with it, and if it weren't for that, I don't know where I'd be today, because I enjoyed making the news score for this so much that it was something that I wanted to continue, which ended up culminating into the Re-Scored project and wanting to go to university to become a film composer. And then when I went into university, I learned more about composition and about sound design, and it felt like I'd found a calling in life. This is seriously something that I want to pursue as a career, so to repeat what I said earlier, this was definitely one of the most important videos on my channel because it changed the direction my life was taking and created this giant snowball effect that I don't know how my life would turn out had I not done this video. I'd actually like to go back to it one day since it's technically incomplete. I only did the first half of this original video, and now that I've gotten so much better at composing this kind of material, it sounds like something I'd like to do. Only time will tell, really. Next video needs a bit of backstory. Around 2010-2011, I discovered channels such as the Archfiend, and specific to this video in particular, Inquisitive Joe, or I Am Joseph Paul as he now goes by. Now at the time, these two were very much against the popular YouTuber Shane Dawson, and in 2011 I opened up a secondary YouTube channel where I would give a live critique of his latest video. So basically I was doing reaction videos before it was cool. I only made 4 videos because I got a bit burnt out and I was falling behind schedule, and given the stigma towards reaction channels now, which I actually agree with, I'm honestly glad I killed the project so early on. And as far as Shane's content goes, I'm pretty much neutral stroke apathetic towards his content. I recognise that it's not really for me, so I don't really care about it. In fact, the last time I watched any of his videos was indeed during this time. So onto this video itself. As my video diary of Confuzzled 2010 shows, I am in fact a furry. And as far as the fandom itself goes, to say the media likes to paint it in a negative light would be a bit of an understatement. I mean, in recent years there have been articles that have warmed up to the fandom, but at the time, after negative article and negative article, there wasn't a lot of trust towards the media from the fandom. So when a group of furries got the opportunity to get interviewed on television on a fairly popular channel, you can imagine the drama that unfolded in the lead up to the show actually being aired. Me, I wasn't all too worried, because I actually knew one of the guys and he was telling me how it actually went kind of okay, and to be honest, it could have gone a lot worse. And as much as I hate to mention it, I do have to address the elephant in the room and say it's unfortunate what happened with the presenter, so with that in mind, let's just move on. So after having so much fun at Confuzzled the year before, I went there again for 2011. And this time I was determined to take as much footage as possible with the intention of condensing it down to as long as 2010s. And well, considering a Confuzzled Adventure 2010 was 40 minutes and this one was 2 hours long, you can tell which of those two objectives I fell flat on. I believe that near the end of the video I attributed this to the fact that I was sharing a room with 2 other people that I hadn't met before, and I get really camera shy. Even now, despite the fact that I sound a lot more animated, back then I was really quiet. I'd kept to myself a lot, which was one of the reasons why I stopped going after that. Like I said earlier, I'd love to go to Confuzzled in the future, it's just mentally preparing myself for the event because it takes so much out of me. If I was to redo this video, I would definitely cut it down to about an hour, and maybe have taken a lot more of a variety of footage, considering about half the whole thing was just one event that took place during the convention, and maybe tighten up some of the edits, but overall I'm happy with what I ended up with. There isn't really much that I can say about this that I didn't say during my discussion of a Confuzzled Adventure 2010, so I guess we can leave it here and start talking about the next video. This video also marks a first as well, that being the little ident at the beginning of my videos. Around 2008 I drew this curly NAN shape that acted as the logo for both my music and my YouTube channel.
And during my time in Confuzzled 2011,
someone was actually selling commissions of various designs being laser etched into plastic, which would also light up when you put it in a battery, and I'd given them a copy of my logo for them to make a light up keychain, so I figured it would be cool to incorporate that into my video making. I have since moved on to a different logo that I feel better represents my channel, but I still have that light up keychain. So after that, while I did keep to a sort of schedule of having a new video every month, considering I was finishing college, starting university, having to deal with the fact that my camera died and I needed to buy a new one, I'm going to skip ahead about 9 months to my next major project, that being my first ever Let's Play. The Sonic 2 Guitar Hero costume doesn't count. So before I talk about this, I should also say that this was a major turning point with my channel, because while I don't remember what video caused it to happen, I'd finally got accepted into YouTube Partnership Program. And while it's not turned out the way I'd hoped, I mean, I still feel that my videos fall under the radar a lot of the time, and it's as if I'm pretty much waiting for that one video to go ultra viral and suddenly I'm the Scrooge McDuck of subscribers and YouTube views. But I'd always thought that it was the sheer age of my channel, or maybe the 8-month gap in videos in the early days, that was the cause of the problem. Even though there are a handful of channels like mine that have been around for a long time, and sometimes sporadic in their upload schedule, but continue to be as big and popular as they were back then, you could understand why sometimes I feel a little frustrated, which is why I'm so grateful for every view, like, comment and subscriber that I get. But I'm getting majorly off topic. I should really be saving this little speech for the end. So on to the video series in question, my first ever Let's Play, that being of an obscure Quake mod simply known as Malice. Now, I'll be the first to admit that the video quality wasn't the best. I was doing the amateur thing of pointing my camera at my monitor simply because, as I said in my Sonic 2 Guitar Hero videos, my computer was just not powerful enough to capture footage. Seriously. I did end up getting a new computer towards the end of this Let's Play, and I did a huge 30-minute long video on that, which I'm not going to discuss in this video, which meant that I was finally able to record gameplay footage properly. There wasn't really a reason as to why I chose this game to Let's Play first. Being a huge fan of the Doom series as well as the original Quake, this was just another game that I had played as a kid, and even though I never got that far back then, in fact I barely remember most of the game, this was very much a blind run. I actually intended on finishing this game. It's just a shame that I ended up killing the Let's Play about 20 episodes in, partly because it felt like that no one really cared for it, which dampened the fun factor while I was recording. I even addressed this during one of the last episodes where I was asking for feedback and I wasn't getting any in return, but again, I already talked about that, so moving on. Will I return to or flat out restart this Let's Play one day? Unless there's a demand for it, it's unlikely. Alas, the same fate can be said for my secondary Let's Play, which I started around midway through my Malice for Quake playthrough, that being the 16-bit game Marsupilami. Now, even though the series that this game is based off of has fallen into obscurity over the years, I do have a lot of fond memories of watching the Disney cartoon that came from this. Like, I really enjoyed the show as a kid, and yet I had no idea that there was even a Marsupilami game. Now, unlike my Let's Play of Malice, there was an actual reason as to why I chose to Let's Play this game at such a specific time. See, in the months leading up to this series release, there was a bunch of news regarding a feature-length, live-action movie based off of the franchise. So, admittedly, I wanted to capitalize on that by releasing the first episode the same day that the movie came out. But when it comes to how well the videos were received, I could probably call the videos a small success. They did get views and comments, but at the time of releasing the videos, it just was not happening. Couple that with the fact that I was feeling burnt out with this game towards the end. I mean, I spent 20 minutes on one level, and just when I thought I was about to complete it, I ended up losing out of time, going all the way back to the start. I just wasn't feeling it anymore. It had an okay run, as much as I'd like to go back to it, I don't think I ever will. Even with a collective view count of, as of writing, almost 14,000 views across 6 videos, so maybe one day. I've got other projects to work on first. So as far as my channel on YouTube goes, I have to admit, In the early days, I was a bit of a posse mouth, and this particular Let's Play was definitely a game changer in that regard, because I wanted to do a series of videos where I just simply did not swear, because it almost felt like I was overdoing it, and honestly it was not good for me mentally. In recent years I often sound a lot more animated and positive, and I barely swear now, even in real life, and I think it's helped me. I don't like going into my personal life too much, but even though YouTube was kind of my own personal therapy at times, I was under a bit of stress and was just letting it get to me, and since I sorted all that out, I'm no longer in the same mindset as I was back then, and I feel much better because of it. Maybe it's just me, but if you go back to my old videos, there was a period where I sounded noticeably different in the tone I spoke compared to now. Maybe it was just me still getting used to speaking into a microphone where people can hear me, considering I'm a very quiet person outside of YouTube. Hell, this is probably the most I've spoken all week. So because of all that, while this short series of videos may not seem like much, they definitely mean a lot to me on a personal level. Now for possibly one of my more controversial videos, that being my first impressions review of Sonic Generations. I'd say controversial because I was pretty harsh towards it, given how well the game was received, and while I may not have put my thoughts across in the best way, I do feel I need to provide some context behind this video and possibly why I was so negative towards the game. Keep in mind that it had been a long time since I played a new Sonic game. In fact, the last new game that I'd played since then was actually Sonic 06, which, while I will agree with everyone that it wasn't the best game, I certainly don't feel it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. With 06, depending on your mindset when you first go into it, it's just okay, with a hint of so bad it's good. Generations, for me on the other hand, also had that okayness to it, but didn't have anything else going for it, which left me feeling disappointed. Another reason is, I was actually going through a bit of a rough patch in my life at the time of this recording, and I just needed something to take my mind off of what was going on then, which probably came out in my voice. I'm not going to go into detail as to what happened because that's not what my channel's about, and I don't want to dampen the mood any further. Just know that I've accepted what's happened and I'm doing fine. I actually want to revisit Sonic Generations now that I actually own the full game, but I've also got another dozen or so projects in the pipeline, so you'll have to wait for that. So, not too long after that video came out, I ended up doing two more Let's Plays, one of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where I purposely didn't play as Sonic, as a response to the then most recent gameplay teaser for Sonic Lost World, specifically the part where the guy playing it said you only play as Sonic, and I was making the statement of you can play as other characters in a Sonic game and still have it be a good game, and one of Sonic Adventure 2. Not to make a statement, just to showcase one of my favourite games of all time. Now initially I wanted to do a Let's Play of a different game, either before those two or alongside it like I did with Let's Playing Malice and Marsupilami simultaneously, although I went against doing two Let's Plays at the same time for two reasons. Firstly, I don't think it would have benefited me that much, if at all, and secondly, this was around my last year of university, so YouTube and a lot of other things had to take a back seat so I could focus more on my studies. And the reason why I wanted to do a different game was because Perspective kind of ended on a cliffhanger, and the next Let's Play was sort of going to be a sequel to it, where I was transported to this new world and was forced to survive in this strange new wilderness. Basically a Minecraft Let's Play. And given how there are already so many channels out there devoted to that game, you can probably see why I chose not to go through with that. So after that, whether it was simply due to having to focus more on studies or wanting to have the focus on my channel back onto my music, I sort of retired from doing Let's Plays. But that didn't stop me from putting videos up on my channel. Enter, officially this time, the Re-Scored project. I already covered this while I was discussing my rescore of Spy and Pyro, so I won't bother repeating myself. And similarly to that video, this was also relevant to my studies. This was actually a project for university. And if I was to compare Portal 2 Re-Scored and Spy and Pyro Re-Scored, I would definitely say that I did much better with Portal 2, seeing as I'd done a lot more research into how an orchestral soundtrack is composed, and it felt a lot more genuine considering I was the one capturing the footage. Granted, I sort of wish I only did one video as opposed to 4, but that was more to do with university, and plus I was still learning how to properly arrange an orchestral soundtrack while making this, so considering this all had improved my skills at it, I would say that it balances out for me. Overall, I'm pretty proud of this, and I'm especially proud over bringing this series back. And so ended 2013. Now, it's safe to say that 2014 and even 2015 were pretty quiet for me. With 2014, it was the last year of university, so as I already said, YouTube had to take a bit of a backseat so I could complete my studies. And with 2015, I had moved into a new place, which I'm still in the middle of sorting out a year later. But since my course technically ended before the end of the academic year, in the sense that all of my work was finished, there was still a bit of extra time for me to work on YouTube once more. And one of those videos was my review of the Lion King video game. And wow, this was one hell of a project. In some respects, I do feel that I went too far into detail, with the video itself being over 25 minutes long. I think that the biggest sin I committed was talking about every single level in excruciating detail. Had I not done that, it probably would have flowed better, especially since I'd done a much shorter review on a Sonic fan game about 4 months prior. Perhaps it was a bit of a cop-out to have it end on a to be continued, similar to the Perspective Let's Play, especially since it's so damn obvious on what I want to review in the future, even though other more successful reviewers have already covered said game already, and I don't want to seem like I'm copying them. But I do actually want to go back to reviewing, as well as doing my guitar covers, the Re-Scored project, and my original music. Heck, I actually have a dozen or so reviews planned, but it's just the odd piece of equipment here and there that I need to get, and actually wanting to finish decorating this apartment that I have, and wanting to finish other projects before moving on to this one. But it took 2 years for the Re-Scored project to make its return, so you can bet that Racing Stripe reviews will make a comeback one day. I just need to get a bunch of other stuff finished first, and then I can get to work on that. But overall, I'm really happy with how this video turned out. I just hope that you guys will want to stick around for when that series comes back, because I've got a lot of plans for Racing Stripe reviews. And while you're waiting for its return, I hope that the guitar covers and the return of the Re-Scored project are more than enough to satisfy you. And of course, let's not forget my debut album, DECET HOSTIUM. If there was a project that I was most proud of in my life, this is definitely up there. I'd worked a lot on writing this, creating the story surrounding it that I'm planning on expanding upon with future albums, and while I didn't have the most professional of equipment at the time, and you could argue I'm still at that point, it was such a blast working on this, especially since it had been a long time coming. As I said back when I was talking about my Dragon Force remix, I was in the process of writing an album since late 2007, more than 7 years prior to DECET HOSTIUM's release. And the crazy thing is, I've been crafting the entire storyline that this album is only a part of for much longer, as I've constantly been reworking and rewriting and just making sure everything fits, and I'm really excited to showcase the rest of this story I'm wanting to tell, because I initially tried to write it down as a series of novels, but I actually ended up getting writer's block around halfway through the first story. After that, I was writing up the story for DECET HOSTIUM, and it just started making sense to tell the story in this medium. And granted, I'm not the first person to do that sort of thing. I mean, Coheed and Cambria have been doing the idea for much longer than I have, but that doesn't mean I can't have fun with it myself. I've actually just started writing songs for the next 2 albums, which will both be connected to DECET HOSTIUM, so much like Racing Stripe Reviews return, I hope you can stick around for that, because I have all of these ideas in my head that are just begging to be released, and it feels like such a waste not making use of them. And with that, we draw to a close. It's absolutely mind-boggling to think that I've been doing this for so long, doing so many different things. I was only 16 years old when I opened my channel, and I've changed so much over the years. I thought that I had my life all figured out before it was taken away from me a number of times. I've gone through high points, low points, some life-changing moments, and while I don't really make my personal life all too public, you guys have always been there and have essentially watched me become the person I am today. If someone had told me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd be in the position I'm in now, I probably wouldn't have believed you. And yet there have been tiny moments in my life, little decisions that at the time seemed insignificant, that have just snowballed into something so big and part of my life that part of me almost wonders where I'd be now had I gone a different route. I know that I don't have that much of a following. There are over 1.5 million channels with bigger audiences than me, but I've always treasured every view, comment, rating and subscriber that I get. Just knowing that I've made at least one other person smile with whatever silly idea I have in my head is one of the best feelings in the world to me. Whether you've been here from the very beginning or have just stumbled upon this channel, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sticking around, and thank you for 10 years on this website. And hey, here's to 10 more. So until next time, take care, guys.